Welcome to Fight News Now. I am John Pollock, along with John Ramdeen and Robin Black. We are coming out of UFC 203 from Saturday night from a sold-out Quicken Loans Arena, which, being there live, this atmosphere for the main event was incredible. I would classify the reaction to Stipe Miocic's win as the loudest reaction I've ever heard at a UFC card. I mean, how did it translate for you guys and Stipe's performance?
Well, first, you look at what happened in the co-main event. I was very, very confused because it seemed like the crowd wasn't hot for Fabrizio Werdum and Travis Browne. There was a bunch of boo-birds, despite the fact that Fabrizio Werdum had a flying sidekick to the face of Travis Browne.
They weren't saying boo, they were saying, Stipe, we want Stipe.
That's what it sounded like.
Well, the first round was a great round, I thought. I think things tailed off in the second and third, and there was a lot of confusion in that first round because that was the end of the fight. There are no timeouts for a guy suffering an injury.
Hold on. Everybody's injured at every moment of every fight. Yeah, that was the end. Then Brown's corner having an emotional breakdown throughout the fight and at the end. There's a lot of chaos in fights as it is. There's a lot of unpredictable moments, but that one had a lot. Boos, weird injury things that never happened, and flying sidekicks and screaming cornermen having breakdowns and stuff. Just the fact that Werdum stayed focused in that fight is a credit to him.
Yeah.
I know Fabrizio Werdum, he's heavily campaigning for this title rematch, but it really feels that Cain Velasquez, he's the fresh fighter and had a more spectacular win over Travis Browne this summer. I think that's the fight to make. Do you agree, John?
I think so. I think especially because of the history of Cain Velasquez. We were talking about, is Cain Velasquez the best heavyweight of the last 5 years? Fabrizio Werdum will say, no, I look at my accolades in comparison. I defeated this guy. I was at the top of the mountain, so you can understand if you're Fabrizio Werdum. But what makes sense from a money standpoint, I think Cain Velasquez is the fight to make because it's a fresh fight.
Stipe Miocic is the best fighter right now. And that fight was spectacular. Overeem has been outthinking these guys, and he's working mostly southpaw, and he's moving towards their power side and daring them to throw. And they don't, because either they believe and they are either correct or not correct, that it's too dangerous. Why is he dipping his head out? Why is he inviting my right hand and my right kick? I better wait, and then bam, hits Stipe with the left in that moment. That's how he's been winning these fights. He's been laying out these traps and walking you into it. Almost had Stipe out of there. I think Stipe thought when he was talking to Rogan that he got kicked in the head. It was a punch. But fantastic fight. Once he got it back under control, he's a better athlete than all of these guys, including Cain Velasquez, and he makes it about athleticism. You get into that guard and you're standing over there. You don't settle in. You keep it an unsettled situation, start punching. Boom. Beautiful win. The last fight for him to have is Cain Velasquez. If he can beat Cain Velasquez, he is the best fighter in the world. He is one of the best heavyweights ever. This is the last hurdle he has to.
As we move over to the fight that, I mean, in the city, this was the fight that had a gigantic amount of interest. It was CM Punk and Mickey Gall. The outcome, I think just about everyone expected this finish. I don't think there's any way this guy can continue in the UFC, but you have an interesting case that when you look at all the different boxes you have to check off to be an elite level fighter, one of them is public interest, and some may say it's the most important one. What do you do with a CM Punk? Do you release him outright? Do you come up with something creative? I mean, what is the next move? Do you just call this an experiment that did not work?
It's funny. Dana White says it was an experiment.
This was to him.
I know. I said it clearly was an experiment when you look at it because CM Punk had no fight experience. He wasn't NCAA wrestling champion like Brock Lesnar or have that background like Bobby Lashley. He was just coming from the pure entertainment standpoint. And I think what should have happened right from the get-go, they're trying to build Fight Pass. They have affiliations with every small organization in the world. Judo Brazil. Go to Japan, have him fight a former pro wrestler that's looking to make their fighting debut. There's so many things you could have done. We see where CM Punk is at. If he still wants to continue this journey, you can have him compete for the UFC on Fight Pass with whatever number of organizations are willing to host
I
them.
think their thinking was, and this has been brought up, the fact that when he was signed, they were coming off a very bad year on pay-per-view, that they were looking for attractions.
Bellator had momentum.
This was when Scott Coker had just come in, and we were seeing a lot of these kind of stunt fights. That's what this was. And when Dave Bautista fought a number of years ago, it was for a very small show on internet pay-per-view, and no one watched it. It was very tiny. So they were trying to maximize what his drawing ability could be, and I think that interest was there. It's just the pivot point here. I just don't know how you can possibly bring this guy back, and nor is it really fair to him. If he wants to continue, this is not the level to be learning on the job.
Yeah.
If we're going to go in, so right now, I went through the same journey on a small level, and it was incredibly beautiful, and it was wonderful, and it's a life-changing experience to get to pursue something so difficult. So I commend the man, and I hope that he enjoyed it. But we, as the people watching it, we have chances to learn things in life. That's why one of the reasons we watch sports and entertainment. And there are only 2 responses right now, and there should be others. Yes, let's make fun of this guy for getting his ass kicked. That one doesn't make any sense. Don't do that one. And the other one is, oh man, let's give him a trophy for showing up and trying, and then he walks in there and says, you gotta dream big and chase your goals. He did people a disservice there.
Yeah.
If we post-mortem this process, the failure is at the beginning. It's a macro failure. The way you chase your dreams isn't you just make some unachievable dream, go for it and fail. You break it down, like we said on 5 rounds, into bite-sized achievable goals. Little, tiny, hard, but achievable goals. You fight a white belt in jiu-jitsu tournament, and then you do some kickboxing, then you do some low-level fighting, then you take some other tests.
Mickey Gall did that stuff.
Mickey Gall did
champion.
that stuff. Everybody does that stuff, and you shouldn't be angry at him for skipping the line. He sold himself out. He did himself a disservice by not doing that. But it's hard, and it's long, and you'll fail many times. But if anybody out there wants to really chase a dream, break it up into small, very demanding, very hard, but achievable goals. And when you fail at each one, get better, and then work your way up. Don't buy into this nonsense of dream big. That's why we have this kind of chef, the greatest American chef at American Idol. He had the same thinking as 10,000 people who lined up for American Idol. None of them had music careers, but if they could just skip the line, they could one day be huge. This man didn't do what you do to be a fighter, and now he can have the chance. And I'm not hating on him. Good on him for doing it, but it was the mistake. The macro mistake was at the beginning. And so go back and start small.
I think positives you can take from this. I mean, it did generate interest for Saturday, and B, you got someone out of this in Mickey Gall. This was not like we just threw him with a nobody that has no upside if he were to win. Mickey Gall is a legitimate prospect. I think this guy is incredibly intelligent. Every time he has been in front of an audience, he is very strategic with his words and advancing his career. I think he very much understands that. Immediately calling out his next fight with Sage Northcutt, I think you really have something here in Mickey Gall.
Potentially you have something, you just don't know. We're talking about a guy who's getting close to 40 years of age, never fought before, just chasing, as we call it, a dream.
It's the third tomato can Gall is beaten.
And if
Let's
Mickey,
be honest.
you know, Mickey Gall goes out and faces Sage Northcutt, and Sage Northcutt obliterates this guy, then what? Yes, Sage Northcutt's a top prospect. Do you get another fight with Mickey Gall? Because let's face it, the UFC had to go and find the lowest level fighter they could find to face the guy that had never fought before. So yes, right now we have kind of a prospect, somebody that was, okay, could we make some money off of this guy, putting him on Fight Pass or a Fight Night card? Right now we can, but what happens if there's 1 or 2 losses?
This is the very reason why you cannot go based on, well, this guy's hot, this guy speaks well, this girl's attractive, whatever. You know, Paige Van Zandt showed up and knocked that girl out with a flying kick. That's undeniable.
Yep.
But you can't, and so fortunately in that case, we had somebody who was beautiful and well-spoken and came in second on Dancing with the Stars and delivered. The most important thing ultimately is deliver. And when I came into the world of fighting, I came from the music world, and it was disgusting because ultimately Britney Spears is not the greatest singer or songwriter or dancer. She was beautiful and popular, and we built it around her. We can't do that with fighting. We can't do that with combat sports. Combat sports is the truth. Going in there and fighting is the truth. And that's what we found out when we put CM Punk in there. We found out the truth. It takes a lifetime of study and commitment to be a martial artist, the same as it does to be in the NFL, the same as it does to be in the NBA, maybe more so. And just when you say, I know I belong here, you're deluding yourself. You can't belong there. And that delusion took us to this point. And we should applaud the man for making an effort. We should hope that he had an enjoyable time. And we should study this like we do all failures. We post-mortem every failure, study it, and see what we can learn from it.
Do you guys cut him?
I don't think so. I think you can still make money. You can create interest with CM Punk. It's like, well, how will he do if he faces somebody that is not a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, some former pro wrestler that decides that they want to
in the UFC?
Maybe, again, some sort of Fight Pass related thing. The UFC is clearly trying to draw people to Fight Pass. You can use CM Punk that way.
Yeah, you know, they're still interested, and the guy seems to enjoy this. Just understand, we gotta stop talking and have him stop playing a role of fighters that he saw and be himself and explore what he wants. And hopefully he fights on Shooto Brazil, because I'd love to commentate him fighting some guy from Brazil.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. Of course, we are going to be presenting our preview show and the prelims of this Saturday's card from Hidalgo, Texas. Tune in 7 p.m. Eastern Time, featuring Dustin Poirier and Michael Johnson in the lightweight main event.